Greetings and welcome back to LA Quill. When we think about storytelling, especially in the realm of fantasy, our minds tend to gravitate toward the grand design, the hero's journey or the looming war, the ancient magic waiting to be awakened or destroyed. We think about the central thread, the one that carries the weight of the narrative from beginning to end. But if you've ever found yourself completely absorbed in a story, unable to put it down, it's rarely just that main thread holding your attention. It's the layers beneath it. The quieter tensions, the relationships unfolding in the margins, the choices being made outside the spotlight of the main quest. That is where the subplot lives. And more importantly, this is where much of a story's true magic is born. Think of your main plot as a spine in your story, the structure that holds everything upright. Without it, your narrative's just going to collapse. But a spine alone does not make a living, breathing being. It's the muscles, the nerves, the subtle movements that bring it to life. Subplots are those muscles, those hidden systems that give your story motivation, weight, and emotional depth. Without them, a story might function. It may even be entertaining, but it will often feel thin, predictable, like a straight road with no scenery along the way. Boring. But with them, however, the same story becomes something richer, something layered, something that feels real. So what exactly is a subplot? At its simplest, a subplot is a secondary storyline that runs alongside the main plot. It might follow a different character or explore a different conflict or highlight a different emotional journey. But the key is this: it exists in relation to the main story. It's not separate, it's not disconnected. It has something to do with the main story, and probably would not be happening if not for the main story. A well-crafted subplot, though, is not just filler. It's not something you tack on to make your story feel longer or more complex. It's a deliberate, purposeful thread woven into the fabric of your narrative. And when done well, it doesn't just support your story, it transforms it. One of the most powerful ways to create that transformation is by tying your subplot to your central theme. Every story, whether you realize it or not, is exploring something deeper than its surface events. It might be power or love, loss, identity, responsibility. These ideas form the heart of your narrative. Your subplot should engage with the same heart. It might echo the theme, showing another perspective of the same idea, or it might contrast it, challenging the assumptions your main plot is making. Perhaps your hero is learning to embrace responsibility, while a secondary character is actively rejecting it. Perhaps your protagonist seeks unity, while a subplot reveals the consequences of division. These thematic connections create resonance. They make your story feel intentional, cohesive, alive with meaning. And perhaps, more importantly, they invite your audience to think, to feel, to see the world of your story from more than one angle. Subplots also offer something incredibly valuable: space for character development. Your main plot is often driven by urgency. There's a goal to reach, a threat to confront, a ticking clock that demands action. And while that momentum is essential, it can sometimes limit the quieter, more introspective moments of growth. And that is where subplots shine. A romantic subplot might force a guarded character to lower their defenses. A friendship subplot might reveal loyalty or betrayal in ways that main plot cannot. Even a seemingly small conflict can expose deeper truths about who your characters are and what they value. In fantasy storytelling, where worlds are vast and the stakes are enormous, these personal moments are what ground your narrative. They remind us that behind every prophecy, every battle, every magical artifact, there are people. Flawed, complicated, deeply human people. And it's through subplots that those people truly come into focus. But perhaps the most important element of a subplot is this: it has to matter. It's not enough for a subplot to just exist. Okay, it's not. It needs to intersect with your main narrative in a meaningful way. The stronger subplots don't simply run alongside the main plot like parallel tracks. They collide with it, they influence it, they change its course. Maybe a side character's personal struggle leads to a decision that alters the outcome of the main conflict. Maybe a relationship built in the background becomes the key to victory, or the source of a devastating loss. Maybe a hidden truth uncovered in a subplot reshapes everything your protagonist thought they knew. When your subplots intersect with your main plot, they create a sense of inevitability. Everything feels connected. Every thread feels purposeful. And your story begins to take on a kind of narrative gravity that pulls your audience deeper and deeper in. Of course, there is a balance to be struck. Yes. A subplot, no matter how compelling, should never overwhelm your main narrative. If it begins to dominate the story or drift without direction, it risks pulling the audience out of the central experience you're trying to create. That's where discipline comes in. Every subplot needs to have a clear purpose. It should move, it should evolve, and if it no longer serves the story, it needs to be refined or removed. It's okay to ditch it. Because a wandering subplot doesn't add depth, it just adds confusion. And that brings us to one final, often overlooked element. Resolution. A subplot deserves an ending, unless it's going to be the subject of the next book. Give it an ending. It may not be as grand or as dramatic as the climax of your main plot, but it should still feel complete, intentional, earned. Perhaps the romantic tension finds its answer, whether in union or separation. Perhaps a broken friendship is mended or definitively lost. Perhaps a personal struggle reaches a turning point, even if the journey itself continues. Even an open-ended resolution can be deeply satisfying as long as it feels like you did it on purpose. What matters is that your audience doesn't feel like the thread was abandoned. Because when a subplot simply disappears, it breaks immersion. It reminds the audience that they are watching a constructed story rather than living within it. And that's the opposite of what we want. At the end of the day, subplots are where stories become layered, where secondary characters step into the light, where emotional impact takes root and lingers long after the final page is turned. They are where your world expands beyond the boundaries of the main quest. And they are where your audience often finds the moments they remember most. So as you build your next story, don't treat subplots as an afterthought. Treat them as an opportunity. An opportunity to deepen your world, to challenge your characters, to weave something intricate and unforgettable. Because when you do, your story stops being a single thread. It becomes a tapestry. And that is where the magic truly lives. And that's our tale from L.A. Quill today. Tell me about a subplot you've loved, whether in a story you've read or in one you're writing yourself. Until next time, may your stories always be magical.